A warm welcome to Center for Governance Studies podcast. And today's topic is a very topical one. That is basically we're dealing with presence of AUKUS and Quad and how it affects the Bay of Bengal region. So I'm Parvez Karim Abbasi of East West University, and uh, I'm quite lucky to have two intellectual titans on both my sides. Makes me feel like a pygmy, at least in the intellectual center. On my left hand side, a man of wearing many hats, army man, and again a public servant and academic. Uh, Brigadier Sakhawat, sir, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
And again, also his work at the Election Commission is still highly cited and highly regarded. And also on my right side, I have again Dr. Titumir, foremost development practitioner and academic, immensely respected academic from Dhaka University. Warm welcome to both of you, sir. So let me set the ball rolling, and because of paucity of time, we'll remain focused. As we know that in recent times, the United States, the sleeping giant, has woken up to the threat of China, or again through its BRI, especially in terms of its manifestation of its connectivity, infrastructural investments, and its Silk Maritime route, and also the string of pearls theory, as the Indian academics like to popularize this. And as a response of this to this, we have the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, informally known as the Quad, and what nowadays we have a more concrete military grouping known as AUKUS. So this has set the region on tenterhooks because there has been conflict with China, or there's been rising tensions with China vis-a-vis again Taiwan, or vis-a-vis again basically the Strait problem that we have, and again the Malacca Strait problem that we have, and again China's investment in strategic ports across Colombo to Djibouti. And as a result, what we see right now is the US trying to encourage India, Australia, and for that matter, the United Kingdom, or even South Korea and Japan to step in to increase their maritime presence, so that the idea is freedom of navigation across Indo-Pacific. So that has become a key ground of contestation. So I'll begin with you, sir. How do you think this conflict will play out? How is Bangladesh affected? And should Bangladesh take a greater role in terms of Bay of Bengal? Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Of course, Bangladesh is the prime country of Bay of Bengal. In fact, our only exit is through Bay of Bengal, and we can term it's a lifeline for Bangladesh, as we don't have any other exit through the land. Otherwise, we have to go through third country. It is important for us, and freedom of navigation in Bay of Bengal is, of course, a very prime requirement for a country like Bangladesh, which is totally dependent on exports. And the point is here, which I didn't get any answer within myself. What are we actually looking at? There are a lot of talks about the Chinese rise of China as a, if not superpower, as a military power. China is also trying to very succinctly
Expand the sphere
expand
of
its sphere of influence. It is always, it's a big power center.
It's a natural imperative.
Yes, it's a big power center. Both of you are eminent scholars, you know. So China is also will be having that sphere of influence. But what I don't get the answer, has China so far threatened anybody? Apart from their claim on Taiwan, which is not today's, is about 70-year-old claim that Taiwan has been part of China, and many of the countries,
Or troubles in the East Asia Sea regarding some of the Sakhalin Strait.
right? So
Spratly Islands.
what we find, we really find that extra regional powers. When I say regional, I'm talking about the South China Sea region. Extra regional powers. America has its own clout, and which is probably not as much as it was in the 70s or 60s. They are being challenged economically, if not militarily. Economically, some other powers, like, for example, China. And the American supremacy, that which somehow the people thought that it's going down, it's again playing up with the recent few incidents. Particularly, we see a prolonged war between Russia and Ukraine. In fact, The point for Bangladesh is we are in kind of a dilemma. And it's
As you
my
say,
personal opinion.
absolutely.
We are not any big force like our neighboring countries. What do we contribute in Quad and in the other military?
Right.
Uh, what do we contribute? Do we have? Uh, do we contribute anything plusing with this force? I don't think we are capable of contributing militarily anything. Rather, we are now maintaining a kind of a neutral position. We have a definitely a big neighbor, India, which is part of Quad, which is a big armed forces dominating entire Indian Ocean
And a decent naval presence
and
too.
a decent level. I mean, and they are aiming at dominating their own backwaters. Yeah, well, they have definitely aspiration to become middle power or a big power. Now, now one that side. Second is China, which is for last 40 years, I may so, has been tested friend to Bangladesh progresses. Now that we are rapidly trying to grow economically than anything, there's a lot of contribution, whether we agree or we don't
No, there's a
agree.
lot of
Yeah,
engagement of China in every sphere of life.
yeah, of course. So China would also like to take Bangladesh in their own fold, which they're trying. We have been signing MOU for BRI. So the point which I'm trying to make that we are at this moment in a very neutral position. If we tilt, let's say, for any other purpose to the Quad, and then we annoy the other people,
The cost will be much higher than the
much higher
benefit.
than what we benefit out of it. That is a big issue, and that is to be debated.
So on that issue, I'll be coming back to you because I'd like to rope in Dr. Titumir over here, and I know that he's an abiding passion in terms of Bay of Bengal region and Bangladesh's role and vis-a-vis engagement with Myanmar. So if you could highlight this in terms of a Bay of Bengal region and what should Bangladesh's and picking up from Brigadier Shakhawat's excellent analysis that what should Bangladesh now do, the road ahead vis-a-vis when you have Quad and AUKUS in the background and Bay of Bengal region as basically the battleground, so to speak. So, what should Bangladesh's strategy be, in your opinion?
You see, the current phase of imperialization start with the marine power, right? And the second, the geographical space that we call Bangladesh, our beloved Bangladesh, was also dictated by the colonial powers without being that respectful to the citizens. And secondly, again, Noor Nehru agreement also provided what we are Bangladesh. So there is a colonial baggage to our geographical position. And then we are also faced with certain compulsions, right? So if we are to understand any kind of a security assessment, then obviously the first thing to count in order to have any kind of assessment is to understand how and what would be the role of your neighbors in any circumstances. So having that kind of an understanding, and if you really look at the historical role of USA and China, one has to understand how do we want to proceed. So given our huge population, what we need is to really master all kind of resources that we have. So on the one hand, we have human resources. Secondly, we have this vast sea resource called Bay of Bengal. So the point is that can we have a proxy war shifted from Atlantic to Indo-Pacific, which started with South China Sea, but kind of detour to the Black Sea area. So can we afford that? The answer is no. So what we can afford and what we are not doing is to come up with our proposition that look, this is the time Bangladesh has passed 50 years and we need to think ourselves and come up with a proposition rather than being reactive or being forced, I would not use the word coerced, to a system or to a process. So that requires a kind of an indigenous thinking, and that requires a whole of the society understanding, and most importantly that requires a cross-party consensus, which is essentially drawn from a normative legitimacy, because a government of the day which is not permanent, but people are permanent. So the government of the day can say and assert that this is our long drawn position, which is a peaceful Bay of Bengal, a growth oriented Bay of Bengal, a region that should be a milestone of multilateralism.
Thank you, sir. Because of paucity of time, because again, we can go for hours together, and again, both these people have huge reservoir knowledge. But if I can sum it up in 1 minute, all three of us agree that Bangladesh, despite having Bay of Bengal, has not been able to utilize its maritime resources. And with the government's explicitly stated blue economy plans, the idea is that we cannot afford to but to have a peaceful Bay of Bengal. And again, as forcefully pointed out by Brigadier Sakhawat and also again by Dr. Titumir, the idea is that we cannot afford to be involved in taking sides over here. Rather, we would try to take steps, either individually or collectively, to advocate for a peaceful sphere of influence amongst the smaller states in the Indian Ocean realm, and so thereby we can exploit the vast, boundless potential of blue economy from Bay of Bengal through multilateral cooperation, and that can be only be brought by a mass consensus within the residents of a country, who are actually the proper stakeholders of Bangladesh's foreign and maritime policy. With this, I would like to thank both of you gentlemen for your precious time, and I would again bid adieu to our audience, and we hope to talk to you in another podcast. Thank you.